Starting off this countdown at number 10, the Meg. Researchers have pinned the date of the megalodon's extinction to about 2.6 million years ago, roughly when the great white shark was just becoming established. However, a doctor pointed out that the megalodon likely lived in water no more than 200 meters deep, in and around coastal areas. We would, she says, have noticed something of the megalodon's size if it was swimming off our shores, but what if that's not where it's living? Explorers began to probe the Mariana Trench in the late 1800s using rudimentary equipment, but it was impossible to get the full picture of the trench without sending someone down. That's only happened once in history. In 1960, a researcher and US Navy lieutenant took a Navy submarine into the depths. Due to the pressure, they couldn't stay very long, but when they turned on the submarine's floodlights, they were shocked to see fish. Until then, it was thought that no creature could live in such a harsh environment. So who's to say the Meg couldn't live down there?
Over the years, reports of megalodon sightings have emerged all over the internet. A lot of them claim that these giant sharks never went extinct, that they've just been hiding in the deepest part of the ocean, the Mariana Trench.
Now at number 9, new whale. In 2016, marine biologists studying the Mariana Trench heard a strange sound of unknown origin and started recording. Although the recording is only a few seconds long, experts detected a slightly metallic quality to it, and many speculated that the noise was not natural. After months of analysis, however, the scientists believed they found the source of the noise. It's currently theorized that the sound, which marine biologists call a biotwang, is the low-frequency call of a new type of baleen whale. However, that's just one theory. Others say it's still a whale, however it's got shark-like teeth and has mutated into something unimaginable. Here at number 8, sea devil anglerfish. If a fish has the word devil in its name, it's a safe bet that it's going to be freaky, and sea devil anglerfish does not disappoint. It features a whole list of interesting, strange characteristics. As its name strongly hints, this is a fish that would have swum up straight from hell, with its weird body, razor-like teeth, and cold death stare. Although they're bizarre and scary looking, at least they're not huge. Females generally top out at 8 inches long, and the males are much smaller, at maybe an inch long or so. As an anglerfish, the sea devil doesn't dart after its prey. Instead, it has a protrusion from its forehead that dangles a glowing lure to attract unlucky animals. With its huge gaping jaws, the sea devil can actually devour creatures larger than itself.
We believe that this is the first video footage ever made of this species, alive and at depth. Eyes of this angler are quite small. In their dark habitat, anglerfish rely more on feeling the movements of other animals in the water around them than on vision. The tiny pale dots you see along the sides of the fish and on its head are organs very sensitive to the slightest movements, and they function very effectively.
Now coming in at number 7, goblin shark. The goblin shark is a rare species of shark. Its unusual and creepy appearance is often described as fossil-like. It has pink-toned skin and a distinctive snout shape. It is elongated and flat, with a protruding jaw and skinny, incredibly sharp teeth. They can grow to be about 10 to 13 feet in length, and they are rarely seen by human beings. It's still unclear what the unusual snout is for, but the older they get, the deeper they dive.
Most goblin sharks are 10 to 12 feet long, but they can grow much bigger.
Here at number 6, telescope octopus. The telescope octopus is a transparent 8-armed octopus that is almost entirely colorless. Their arms are the same size, and they are the only octopus to have tubular eyes. It is incredibly unusual to observe and was originally documented by Dr. William Evans in 1885. The octopus is a rare species, meaning there is little that scientists and the general public know about the marine creature, but it's believed to be a close relative of the glass octopus. These eyes provide a wider peripheral vision so that the octopus can see predators and prey alike. Those eyes can also rotate. Talk about scary. Halfway at number 5, fang-toothed fish. These fish could be straight out of a horror movie and are named after their scary teeth that, in relation to their body size, are the largest in the ocean. Special pouches on the roof of its mouth prevent the teeth from piercing the fish's brain when its mouth is closed. Fang-toothed fish do not have good eyesight, and they are believed to hunt by literally bumping into their prey, sensing vibrations and movement in the water. Now at number 4, deep-sea hatchetfish. There are a lot of odd-looking fish in the sea, but not many of them resemble humans' hand tools. The deep-sea hatchetfish resembles a silvery swimming hatchet. There are more than 40 species of hatchetfish. All of them have ridiculously skinny bodies, and many of them have shiny scales too, which adds to the metallic hatchet-like appearance. They are small fish and even the biggest types to grow only to about 6 inches long. Their delicate looks contradict their serious ruggedness because these fish are found in depths pushing nearly 5,000 feet. Hatchetfish have bioluminescent bodies, and they can alter the brightness of their glow depending on how much light is filtering from above. In doing so, they're counter-illuminating their bodies in a clever camouflage technique. Their dim, self-produced light reduces their silhouettes, making it much more difficult for predators to spot them from below. Now at number 3, comb jellyfish. The comb jelly is a beautiful oval-shaped animal with 8 rows of tiny comb-like plates that it beats to move itself through the water. As it swims, the comb rows break up light to produce a shimmering rainbow effect. Comb jellies are gelatinous creatures with luminous body structures as they diffract any light that falls upon them. They use their comb-like plates to move around in the water. While they please the eyesight, these underwater marvels are vicious predators, even attacking their own kind sometimes. Some may be as tiny as a few millimeters, ranging up to nearly 5 feet long.
Found around 3,000 feet down are the comb jellies. That's light refracting off thousands.
Here at number 2, frilled shark. The frilled shark was discovered in the 19th century by a German who studies fish. It is often referred to as a living fossil due to its eerie appearance and the shape of its mouth. The shark has an eel-like body that's dark brown and gray in color, and the articulation of the jaws to the head. The shark derives its name from 6 rows of frilly gills that grace its body, which grows up to 6 feet long. Just as notably, the shark wields more than 20 rows of wicked, trident-shaped teeth that will tear into any bit of flesh that passes near them. Frilled sharks probably spend most of their lives near the ocean's bottom, and they like waters more than 4,000 feet deep. On the rare occasions that people snag them and bring them up to the surface, the sharks almost always perish immediately, making it very difficult for people to observe their behavior and life cycles. For years, many people assumed that frilled sharks swam and hunted like eels. Now coming in at number 1, zombie worms. Now I know what you're thinking, oh well, how can a worm be scary? Well, let me tell you. Zombie worms are also known as osedox. The word osedox means bone eater in Latin and refers to the worm's ability to dig into and eat bones from whale carcasses. They do so in an attempt to reach lipids enclosed in the bone. They use special root tissues for bone burrowing. So if you ever come near one of these things, I suggest getting as far away as possible.
At number 10, we have Cilla. This is a monster feared for her brutality. Cilla is a very interesting ocean creature in Greek mythology. She is usually beside the great whirlpool and is a huge danger to those who wish to pass her waters. Out of all the creatures in Greek mythology, her destruction ranks the highest, no questions asked. But she wasn't always this horrendous monster. In one depiction, she was a beautiful maiden, and the fisherman turned god of the sea, Glaucus, fell in love with her. She wasn't interested at all because of the fishy tail, so he turned to Circe to ask for a potion to change her mind. However, Circe loved him and tried to convince him to forget about Cilla, not wanting to punish the man she loved. Circe decided Cilla would suffer for her humiliation. Cilla was then transformed into a monster who had 6 serpentine heads, as well as the head of hounds spouting from her sides. There is no point of trying to escape her because you just can't. She is just too powerful. All the people who tried to pass her are warned, quote, "Sail past, do not engage in a fight as you will not win." At a number 9 spot, we have Qualupalik. The legend of the Qualupalik comes from the Inuit people and their icy Arctic waters. They are actually considered mermaids, but unlike regular mermaids, there is nothing attractive about this creature. These creatures are often depicted having fins just coming out of their heads, back and arms, and their hands are topped with long sharp claws. All of this is enough to strike terror into the hearts of the children that the Qualupalik preys upon. Only these children will catch a glimpse of their face, which resembles a woman's face that had just turned green and bloated from rotting underneath the sea. Those who have sighted the Qualupalik report that these creatures can only be seen for an instant before they are gone. But the children victims would not be as lucky. She would leap out from underneath the water, sink her sharp claws into their flesh, and drag them forward into the water. At our number 8 spot, we have Vodenoi. Hey, look at this weird frogman. He doesn't look too bad. I mean, he seems kind of chill. Wrong. This frog-like creature is called a Vodenoi. It is a water spirit in Slavic mythology. He resembles an old man with a long mossy beard and a face that kind of resembles a frog. He resides in various rivers and lakes, and if you decide to go swimming in one of them without doing the sign of the cross, a Vodenoi will drag you down to the depths to become his slave. When he's really angry, he'll break mills, bridges, dams, and so people end up giving offerings and sacrifices to appease him. In northern Russia, it is believed that the Vodenois have a ruler, Tsar Vodenik. or the Voden Tsar. He is described as an old man armed with a club who can rise to the sky sitting on a black cloud. At our number 7 spot, we have sirens. Originating from Greek mythology, sirens are creatures with enchanting musical voices that lure sailors and unsuspecting people to their doom. They were in fact the daughters of the river god Aeschylus and a muse. Sometimes they're depicted as something similar to mermaids, but in more classic depiction, they had wings. The wings were given to them by Zeus's daughter Persephone after Hades kidnapped her and took her to the underworld. She gave the sirens wings to help locate her. In the oceans, the sirens would sing a song so beautiful that it would lure any kind of man to jump off the boat and swim until the sirens would pull them under or they drowned. At our number 6 spot, we have the Incanyaba. The Incanyaba is a legendary serpent said to be living in a waterfall lake area in the northern forest near Pietermaritzburg. Sorry for the mispronunciation. More commonly in the base of Howick Falls, South Africa. This creature is said to be very large. This creature is said to be a very large serpent up to 25 feet long with a horse-like head. It's said they travel in large packs and are carnivorous. They consume almost anything in their paths. It's also said that when they're angry, they cause seasonal storms, more so in the summer months. The Xhosa tribe claims that this creature is said to take flight in the form of a giant tornado to find its mate. They're also associated with unexplained disappearance of domestic animals as well. Right in the hump of our list, we have the bunyip. The bunyip is a creature from the Aboriginal mythology of southeastern Australia, said to lurk in swamps, billabongs, creeks, riverbeds, and waterholes. The name directly translates to devil or evil spirit. Aboriginal peoples used to tell tales of the bunyip that stalked the waterways and ate any prey item that came close. And the creatures had developed a taste for people, mostly children. He is said to be able to alter the water level in his home environment, or he might use ferocious roar to cripple unwelcome visitors. One legend describes the monster hypnotizing a woman and keeping her for several weeks as a slave, until the spell was broken by a large thunderstorm. The amphibious animal was described as having a round head, an elongated neck, and a body resembled that of an ox, hippopotamus, or a manatee. The story originates from the one legend that says that a man named Bunyip broke the rainbow serpent's greatest law by eating his totem animal. Banished from the good spirit, Biami, the man became an evil spirit that lured tribesmen and their livestock into the water so they can eat all of them. What a terrible way to go. At our number 4 spot, we have the Serene Crone. The Serene Crone is a monster from Scottish Gaelic folklore. It is a colossal sea monster that can consume anything in the ocean, but likes to toy with its prey first. In some accounts, it could eat up to 7 whales at a time, with the devil being the only one that can slay it. It's also said it can shapeshift into a small fish, so when it gets caught by a fisherman's net, it can return to a regular size and swallow the ship whole. Forbes goes on to say, quote, "It is not known what this monster animal was, but whatever it was, it waged a war in both sea and land against all and against each other." Now many people believe the Loch Ness Monster is the evolution of this monster, but do you think these two look alike? It could be plausible, but I don't think so. All the way at our number 3 spot, we have the Umibozu. The Umibozu from Japanese lore directly translates to sea monk, and they are black humanoid giants with large glowing round eyes, only seen from the shoulders up. Strangely enough, they only appear when the water is completely calm. But when they do show up, the water changes violently. The Umibozu will attempt to sink your ship either by breaking it in half, or it even may demand you to give it a barrel. It'll use that barrel to pull water into your ship, sinking it slowly. However, you can get around this by offering it a bottomless barrel by cutting the bottom out. It'll get confused, and this is a time you can successfully escape. One theory says that they are spirits of the murdered priests who are thrown into the ocean by Japanese villagers. So it's pretty creepy stuff. At our number 2 spot, we have the Ukiturso. This creature is known as the ultimate savage, and its name directly translates to eternal torso. It somewhat resembles a gigantic octopus because of the tentacles that grow from their body that are both long and have suckers to them like an octopus arm. This creature tends to keep to themselves, but when they're provoked, this creature will grow dragon wings on their back and devour everything in its path. In the legend, Ikutorso is mentioned as the father of the diseases with Luviatar, the blind daughter of Tuoni, the god of death. The Scandinavian giants had the ability to shoot arrows which caused diseases in people. That's a whole different type of warfare. I mean, disease-dipped arrows. All the way at our number 1 spot, we have Cetus. Yet another terrifying and destructive Greek sea monster. Cetus is Poseidon's personal attack dog. Except it's a colossal sea monster again, sometimes that blends dragon and whale together. It is depicted as a large serpent-like monster with a reptilian head or maw. Greek mythology news. Poseidon is kind of a jerk. When the king and queen of Ethiopia dared to call their daughter more beautiful than the Nereid sea nymphs, he got super offended. Therefore, he sent his monster to either destroy the kingdom or devour the princess as a sacrifice. However, the hero Perseus was having none of that. Fresh off his last monster hunt, he is carrying the head of Medusa as come across the chained princess. As the massive beast rose from the sea to devour the princess, he lifted the head of Medusa and turned the colossal beast into stone. At a number 10 spot, we have the Michigan Triangle. Well, guess Michigan has their very own version of Bermuda's Devil Triangle, and it contains just as much unexplained phenomena as Bermuda. The triangle goes from Manitowoc, Wisconsin to Ludington to Benton Harbor in Michigan. It was early spring 1937 when Captain Donner was just managing his freighter ship called the O.S. McFarland through these icy waters. He was tired, so he decided to sleep and asked for one of his crewmates to wake him up when they approached shore. As they approached shore, they decided to wake up the captain, but as they looked and they kicked the door down, they noticed that he vanished with no signs whatsoever. Now the triangle claims the lives of many ships and planes just like the Bermuda. They also have sightings of the O.S. McFarland, but as they try to get a closer look, it disappears right into the waters. An odd thing about this place is that when divers go to check the wreckages of the ships and planes, they notice that everything is intact, including the bodies of the deceased and the ship as a whole. This is by far the scariest triangle because there is no way around it other than land. So basically, there's no point of traveling in Michigan's Great Lakes. Number 9, the Orang Medan. In 1947, an American ship picked up a disturbing stress call from an identified vessel. The first transmission was sent using Morse code and it said, quote, "We float, all officers including the captain dead." The next transmission said the whole crew had perished and the final transmission said, quote, "I die." The Americans traced the signal back to the ship that was drifting across the Indian Ocean. They quickly assembled a rescue team to go inside of the ship, but they discovered something was very off. When they entered the ship, they found the entire crew had perished in the exact positions as one another. They're all found on their backs with their hands up, looking as if they were fighting something above them. It's also noted that it was a warm weather day at around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but the ship was found to be around 40 degrees. As they were leaving the ship, trying to tow it back, it suddenly exploded and then sank. No one really had an explanation for this. Number 8, the USS Cyclops ghost ship. The disappearance of the USS Cyclops, one of the Navy's biggest fuel ships, marks the largest loss of life in the history of the US Navy in a single accident. In March 1918, this massive ship set out to sail from Brazil to Baltimore through the Bermuda Triangle with about 309 crew members on board. Once they set off, no signs of issues were reported on the ship. However, the ship was never to be heard from again. An entire search of the area was put into action, but nothing was ever found. No remains of the ship or any crew members aboard has ever been found. What was odd was that the captain of the USS Cyclops never sent out a distress signal. Ships and planes that have traveled through the Bermuda Triangle have said that they have spotted this large naval ship still sailing within. But every time they attempt to get closer or contact the ship, it would begin to vanish out of thin air. Number 7, the MV Joyita. This fishing and charter boat was discovered abandoned in the South Pacific in 1955. 5 weeks after it has been reported missing. The ship was 69 feet long and weighed around 47 tons. The air search mission was unable to locate it until a merchant ship found it drifting nearly 600 miles off of its origin, with no signs of passengers, crew members, or even cargo. The life rafts as well as the firearms and other equipment on board were completely missing. On the deck there was a doctor's bag and several bloody bandages, and the broken radio was set to universe distress signal. What happened there, however, was never revealed because none of the crew was ever seen again. It was theorized that something happened in the middle of the sea, causing everyone on board to jump off. But who really knows what happened to these people? Number 6, Beichimo. Beichimo was a Swedish cargo steamship built in 1914. It was used for trade between the Inuit natives of Victoria Island and the settlers of the Northwest Territory. In 1931, Beichimo became trapped in ice and the crew abandoned ship, setting up camp nearby. They briefly reboarded when the ship temporarily broke free, but it soon became icebound again. All but a 15-man skeleton crew were airlifted away, while the remaining crew kept watch over the trapped vessel and its cargo from a nearby shelter. During a violent blizzard, Beichimo disappeared and the crew assumed she broke apart during the storm and sank. However, days later, the vessel was spotted 45 miles away, again trapped in ice, which seemed to be on the brink of sinking again. But this time, Beichimo did not sink, as there was at least 11 reported sightings of the ghost ship over the next 4 decades. The last sighting was reported by Inuit fishermen who spotted her off the Alaskan coast, trapped in ice of course. In 1969, 30 years after her crew abandoned her originally. She has never been spotted again, and her ultimate fate is unknown, but if she ever does pop up again, I guarantee it'll make news reports everywhere. In the Humpver list, we have the ghost ship of Plate River. If you visit the Pathfinder Dam on the North Plate River, there's a small chance you might get a glimpse of the ghost ship. It's believed that every 25 years, a death ship appears out of the midst near the dam. The first ever recorded sighting of the eerie vessel was in 1862 when a trapper named Leon Weber reported a large wave of fog, then saying it took the form of a sailing ship with a mast and sails covered in silvery shiny frost. He said he saw people on board, but they're all covered in this shiny frost. Then there was another sighting in 1887 when cattleman Gene Wilson saw the exact frosty ship appear out of nowhere. He would also report people on board, but they're all frozen, and when he went home, he found that his house was burned to ashes and his wife was also found dead. Number 4, North Korean ghost ships. Hundreds of abandoned boats from North Korea wash up on Japanese and Russian coastlines each year. Some of the vessels contain the crew's remains, but they're usually just a pile of bones. These ghost ships are thought to be a result of North Korea fishermen becoming lost at sea and dying from malnutrition or other weather exposure. The ships are typically old and lack strong engines. I mean, it's from North Korea. They're pretty much still living in the 1980s still. However, after an investigation was done, they found that these boats were actually sent out from China as a way for them to fish illegally in North Korean waters, which completely violates the UN sanctions. Number 3, the Ghost of Shackleton. In 1915, explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton and his crew set off on a voyage to explore the South Pole. However, before they could make it there, the ship they were on got trapped and crushed by ice. The crew managed to hop on a lifeboat and travel hundreds of miles to safety. Ernest Shackleton miraculously survived, but he didn't stop there. He decided to travel once again, but would pass away this time from a heart attack and was buried on Ross Island in the South Pole. Now, it's said that this hut, which stands to this day, is actually haunted by his ghost. Another polar explorer by the name of Sir Edmund Hillary is known for being one of the first to summit Mount Everest and also travel to the South Pole, having been inspired by Shackleton's expedition. However, when he arrived, Sir Edmund admitted to seeing his ghost as well as the ship that he was on when he got there in the first place. He would recall a lot of the time seeing a ship stuck in ice but no one on board. Number 2, Jenny the Ghost Ship. This is a story of a ship that was found before it was lost. As the story goes, in 1840, Hope came across the ship Jenny completely frozen in ice in the Antarctic Drake Passage. Crew members of the Hope reported that it first looked like a battered ship, but as they approached it, they noticed it was something much darker. The crew saw 7 men standing on the deck of this ghostly ship. However, they were standing frozen solid. The rest of the crew, including the captain, were also found frozen to death in other places of the ship. As they hit the captain quarters, they read the ship's last log saying, quote, May 4th, 1823, no food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive. The ship set sail all the way back in 1823, which meant that it was frozen in ice for almost 20 years. At number 1 spot, we have Marie Celeste. On the fateful day of December 5th, 1872, Mary Celeste set sail from New York Harbor to carry cargo all the way to Italy. But unfortunately, the ship never made it to the destination. After several search and rescue efforts, the ship was found adrift in Bermuda Triangle, but none of its crew of 11 people were found. Personal belongings, food containers, precious cargo, and lifeboats were still there on the ship. Rotten food was also found on board, and foul play was not detected throughout the entire ship. The boat was basically still seaworthy, and it made a lot of people wonder why they even got out the boat in the first place. And it just seemed that everyone just disappeared without a single piece of evidence, almost as if they jumped off the ship and just abandoned it and just started swimming. Since it had ended up in the Bermuda Triangle, it can be said that it had become a product of a curse, but that's if you believe that type of stuff. Starting our list right, we have a time vortex. In 1970, Floridan pilot Bruce Jernon Jr., his father, and friend were flying towards Bahimi Island in the Bahamas. They noticed a rather unusual crowd, to which he referred to as an electronic fog. This is where it gets weirder. When they entered the fog, it became dark very quickly, resulting in little visibility. They would notice these bright white flashes getting progressively worse as they went further in the tunnel of smoke. Navigational tools such as their compasses would begin to malfunction by spinning around rapidly, similar to that of Christopher Columbus when he was around the same area. They would come to the quick conclusion that they needed to escape this fog, but once they did, air traffic control towers detected them over the Miami beach, which would be physically impossible, as his last possible known location was in the Gulf Stream, which is over 100 miles away, which would mean he would have had to travel at nearly 2,000 miles per hour, which is not possible. In our number 9 spot, we have the Ellen Austin. The Ellen Austin was a 210-foot American multi-masted ship. In 1880, the ship was set for New York. However, weeks into its travel, It came across an unidentified ship drifting just north of the Bermuda Triangle. Since the unknown ship wasn't sailing, the captain of the ship ordered a crew to check out the mysterious vessel. When they had boarded, no one was to be found. No signs of violence, nor any signs of the ship's logs. They would attempt to bring the unknown ship back to New York, but would be interrupted by a fierce storm which separated the two ships. After a few days, the captain of the Ellen Austin would spot the ship drifting aimlessly again. They sailed towards the ship once again to find out the ship was empty, with no sign of the crew he had sent, no sign of struggle or distress. This ship was then marked as cursed to the crewmates, but the captain, being oblivious, would still want to seize the opportunity and order another group to sail it. As they set sail with both ships once again, the weather turned poor and separated the ships again, with the ghostly ship disappearing for good. Imagine sending out another group of men to sail this boat after the first group of men perished out of existence. Taking our number 8 spot, we have the Flight 19 mystery. In 1945, the United States sent a group of 5 torpedo bombers known as Flight 19 over the Bermuda Triangle for navigation training. As the bombers flew out over water, all 5 bomber planes would disappear, along with all 14 airmen. In one of the last radio messages received, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the flight commander, reported, "We are entering white water. Nothing seems right. We don't know where we are. The water is green, no, white." Some have speculated that aliens use the Bermuda Triangle as a portal to our planet, where they would capture humans along with our technology to conduct further research on our species. This could be one of the reasons for the disappearance of Flight 19, but we will never know if there's an interdimensional portal without going in it first. At number 7, we have the USS Cyclops ghost ship. The disappearance of the USS Cyclops, one of the Navy's biggest fuel ships, marks the largest loss of life in the history of the US Navy in a single incident. In March 1918, this massive ship set out to sail from Brazil to Baltimore through the Bermuda Triangle with about 309 crew members on board. Once they set off, no signs of issues were reported by the ship. However, the ship was never heard from again. An entire search of the area was put into action, but nothing was ever found. What was odd was that the captain of the USS Cyclops never sent out a distress signal. Ships and planes that traveled through the Bermuda Triangle have said they have spotted this large naval ship still sailing within. But every time they attempt to get closer or contact the ship, it would begin to vanish out of thin air. The USS Cyclops was a rather large ship, which makes this ghostly sighting eerie. At number 6, we have a government testing ground. It is believed by a few that the Bermuda Triangle is actually a testing ground for some governments that border the Atlantic Ocean. It's said to test their advanced technology ranging from underground nuclear bombs to specialized vehicle and weapons. It is said that the governments attempt to add this negative stigma towards the Bermuda Triangle for the sole purpose of keeping people away from their testing grounds. Secret government involvement could explain the disappearance and fairly odd phenomena that occur within the triangle. Right in the hump of our list, we have sea monsters. Could something be lurking in the depths of the triangle that could explain the disappearances? Well, there is a massive sea serpent said to roam in the Bermuda Triangle called the Bermuda Beast. The Bermuda Beast is described as a massive sea creature that is 4 times larger than the Eiffel Tower, making this the largest creature to ever exist if it was truly found. The Bermuda Beast could be the explanation for the missing ships and planes, since it is said to leap out of the water and snatch ship and planes. If that doesn't sound convincing, remember that only 5% of the oceans are discovered, which makes the ocean just as mysterious as the Bermuda Triangle. Who really knows what lies under? Enchanting our number 4 spot, we have the witchcraft. No, there are no witches on their little witch boats in the Bermuda Triangle. However, this story is just as odd. On December 22nd, 1967, a 23-foot luxury yacht named the Witchcraft left Miami with her captain Dan Burrock and his friend Father Patrick Horgan. The plan was to view the Christmas lights from the water, but after reaching a distance of only 1 mile off the coast, the Coast Guards would be notified that the ship had hit something. After reaching the yacht's last known location, it was nowhere to be found. The weird part was that the ship was theoretically unsinkable with an arsenal of life-saving devices ranging from lifeboats to flares. As well, Captain Dan Burke was a cautious yachtsman, making the disappearance surprising to those who knew him. The yacht is reported by some ships to be drifting through the Devil's Triangle, but no one has wanted to sail close enough to figure out the true mystery of the witchcraft. At number 3 of our list, we have Mary Celeste. On the fateful day of December 5, 1872, Mary Celeste set sail from New York Harbor to carry cargo to Italy, but unfortunately, the ship never made it to the destination. After several search and rescue efforts, the ship was found adrift in Bermuda Triangle, but none of its crew of 11 people were found. Personal belongings, food containers, precious cargo, and lifeboats were still on the ship. As well, rotten food was found on board and foul play was not detected throughout the whole ship. The boat was basically still seaworthy, for it had seemed that everyone just disappeared without a single piece of evidence, almost as if they all jumped off from the ship and just abandoned it. Since it had ended up in the Bermuda Triangle, it can be said that it has become a product of its curse. The famous Atlantis takes our number 2 spot. The infamous sunken city is believed to be situated within the Bermuda Triangle. Atlantis was said to be surrounded by hundreds of thousands of crystals that radiated large amounts of energy. Their energy radiating from the crystals could explain the area's tendencies to disrupt communication systems, compasses, and even completely immobilize ships and planes. Then in 1968, scuba diver J. Manson Valentine discovered a series of laid stones at the bottom of the ocean that appeared as though they formed a road, also known as Bimini Road. Doing further investigation, sci-fi show Quest for Atlantis discovered a second layer beneath that road, which could be more promising evidence of a sunken city. Coming in at our number 1 spot, and don't be disappointed, but it all may just be in our head with no mystery at all. The theory of the Bermuda Triangle having no mystery is definitely something more believable. Scientist Carl Kruszelnicki said that everything could be explained by human error, bad weather, and heavy air and sea traffic. As well, the Bermuda Triangle is known as a high traffic area. Ships and planes go through this body of water every day at all times. And where there are people, there will be incidents. The area is known to be an active hurricane zone with a Gulf Stream running directly through it, making it a place of unpredictable weather. Or better yet, what if the cause for the disappearances was related to the negative stigma attached to the triangle? Basically, what if people went into the area with a preconceived thought that it was dangerous, which would then psych themselves out, causing them to do human error? Starting our list right, we have Jack Sparrow's mom is a cannibal. Not much is really known about Jack's mom, except her shrunken skull that was shown towards the end of the 3rd installment at World's End. However, fans have theorized that Jack Sparrow's mother is actually a part of a cannibal tribe. Jack Sparrow's dad, Edward Teague, was a fearsome pirate with fortune that only few could imagine. But it's believed that he ended up on an island that inhabited the Naga tribe of India. My main reasoning for this is that the Naga's flamboyant use of braids and beads in their hair. Compared to pirates like Barbarossa, Sparrow, and Teague's outfits hold clear tribal significance. No other pirate in the movie has braids like Jack and Ed has. Teague has feathers on the front of his hat, similar to how the Naga warriors would wear on their heads. Also, Jack was said to have been born on a pirate ship caught in a typhoon off the coast of India. It's said that he keeps these traditions with him, and that's why Jack Sparrow looks the way he does. At number 9, we have the iconic Kraken. If you haven't been living under a rock, you should definitely know this mythological beast. In the 2nd installment, Dead Man's Chest, the Kraken was introduced. It attacked the Black Pearl ship, and no matter what the crew does, how many weapons they try to use, nothing can stop it. Eventually, it would bring the whole ship down. The Kraken is not only part of the movie, but a part of Scandinavian folklore. It's said that the Kraken is a sea monster described to look like a giant squid that is around 100 feet in length with gigantic tentacles enough to take down ships whole. To take ships down, the Kraken will sometimes swim in circles around the ship, causing a fierce maelstrom which helps sink the ship. To think that 5% of the world's oceans have been explored, it makes us truly wonder if the Kraken is under there. Coming in at our number 8 spot, we have the Flying Dutchman. Seen in the movies as a ghostly ship, it's said that the very timbers of the ship are cut from the bodies and souls of doomed seamen. According to lore, the Flying Dutchman was originally used to collect the souls of who died at sea and take them to the afterlife. But back in the day when piracy was a thing, many feared encountering the ship in the open oceans. In the movie, the Flying Dutchman would be sailed by the iconic Davy Jones. When I think about him, I think about SpongeBob Davy Jones' locker, but the legend is much darker. The Flying Dutchman was given to Davy Jones by his love, the sea goddess Calypso. For 10 years, he could freely come ashore to meet with Calypso, but as time went by, she would suddenly stop appearing, causing Davy Jones to carve out his own heart and lock it away in Dead Man's chest. His original duty of collecting souls and ferrying them to the afterlife completely 180'd, and he would end up wreaking havoc among the seven seas. At number 7, we have the Devil's Triangle. In the 5th installment, Dead Man Tell No Tales, Jack Sparrow is hunted down by his old foe, Captain Salazar, who is a ghost set free from the Devil's Triangle. The Triangle's supernatural abilities revive Captain Salazar and his whole crew, causing him to have vast amounts of power. However, the Triangle is really based on the infamous Bermuda's Triangle. In real life, this body of water is situated in the Caribbean that connects Florida, Puerto Rico, and the country of Bermuda together, making a triangle. Boom, easy geometry. And this place should be avoided at all times, just like in the movie. It holds countless disappearances, including one of a squadron of US Navy bombers who completely vanished in good weather with no distress calls given. This place is shown in the movie and in real life to be a place no one should be going. Falling in at our number 6 spot, we have the fall of the Aztec Empire. In the movie, Orlando Bloom plays Will Turner, who teams up with Captain Jack Sparrow to rescue a loved one, Elizabeth Swan, from a crew of cursed skeletal pirates. The curse that was placed on the pirates was from a real-world figure who caused the fall of the Aztec Empire, Hernan Cortez. He was a 16th century Spanish traveler who was one of the first Spanish colonizers of America. He would move around the Caribbean and would intentionally cause indigenous tribes to battle one another. He would also force many to work for him while stealing gold and treasures from the Aztecs. From all this money and power, he took over the Aztec Empire using the sword of Cortez, which was said to make him unstoppable. And he also claimed the land under the King of Castile in Spain. It's said that he put a curse on his loot, and whoever tried to steal the curse would become damned. Right in the hump of our list, we have Blackbeard. Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, was a famous English pirate who operated in the West Indies throughout the 18th century. Just like in the movies, Blackbeard was a name surrounded by fear and terror. He was notorious for sailing the Queen Anne's Revenge ship, which was a ship that used the bones of his victims, which definitely gave enemies a fair warning before engaging in combat. He would also be very cruel to his own crewmates, even going as far as treating them worse than his prisoners. After being prophesied about his death, he knew that he would have to locate the Fountain of Youth, and with the help of Captain Jack Sparrow, they went out and found the location, only to be met with the British Royal Navy. Blackbeard is quite possibly the greatest pirate to ever exist. Going down the list at number 4, we have Calypso. At the end of Dead Man Tell No Tales, when Davy Jones' heart gets stabbed and his body tossed into the sea, we hear Calypso laughing while she vanishes out of thin air. But who really is this? According to lore, she was the daughter of Atlas, who is the goddess of silence. Being a bored lass, she made it a point in her life to make sure people did not complete their task. She was also known as the goddess of deception because of her ability to distract sailors with her beauty, only to lead them to ruin and destruction because they would fail to pay attention to what they're supposed to be doing. She would be Davy Jones' partner and would be the one telling him what to do and how to do it. Basically, he was I'm just joking. You get what I mean. She was very powerful and could conjure up some of the worst natural disasters possible in the seas. Let's just hope she's still not out there. All the way at our number 3 spot, we have Human Bones in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. This popular attraction is a boat ride that lets guests travel through the world of pirates and real human bones. Well, it was reported that when it was first built, the developers were so strict on the realism aspect of it all that they brought in real human skulls from the UCLA Medical Center to meet their high standards. And eventually, as the technology improved, they began making realistic skeletons instead to replace the real ones, saving them from further controversy. Disneyland states that there are no longer human remains on the ride, but others are convinced, saying that some remains still exist, including the skull on the headboard of the ride. It's definitely creepy to decorate a ride with actual human bones, but we think that Jack Sparrow would approve. At our number 2 spot, we have Mermaids. Captain Jack Sparrow first encountered the Mermaids in Isla Sirena during his quest for the Sword of Cortez. His shipmates were affected by the Song of the Sirens, but Jack himself remained immune to its influence. Eventually, the situation became worse, and Jack was tricked into handing over the prized possession, the Eye of Stone-Eyed Sam, in exchange for the lives of his crew. Well, mermaids aren't anything new, and in this movie, they show some of their abilities pretty well. For example, mermaids are said to have a list of powers and abilities that sets them apart from other mythological creatures. As done in the movie, they're said to use sirens or their voices to lure sailors to their deaths and control their minds. They are also able to shapeshift between human and mermaid forms, also having the ability to control the weather and water around them. I'm guessing Ariel the mermaid is not as innocent as you think, or maybe she's controlling our minds to think that she is. Regardless, I'd be dumb enough to fall for a mermaid. Taking our number 1 spot, we have the Fountain of Youth. In the movies, Davy Jones urgently tries to locate the Fountain of Youth because he simply wants to live forever, haunting the 7 seas. As said, Jack Sparrow set off on a small vessel to locate this, while taunting Davy Jones about an immortal Jack Sparrow. I mean, that would be pretty awesome, right? But they soon realize that they're not the only ones looking for it. So what is so special about this Fountain of Youth? Well, legend goes that the fountain is able to restore the youth of anyone who drinks or bathes in its water. In the movie, it was located on a mysterious island in the Caribbean. However, its real locations aren't known. All that is known is that whoever finds it is never able to tell the story. Well, just for future reference, who wants to go to the journey for this fountain when they hit a midlife crisis?